I saw my parents standing next to my body on the living room sofa. Was I dead? Had I left my body, fully conscious? Was I somehow standing between life and death? And if I wasn't inside my body anymore, what was I supposed to do next?
There are moments in life that quietly divide everything into before and after. Rita says her life was ordinary until one night in the 1960s in her home in Sao Paulo, Brazil, when she experienced something she had never imagined was possible. She was 25 years old, married, a mother of 2 small daughters, and working as a schoolteacher. She lived in a modest but comfortable neighborhood that was still developing, where streets were not fully paved and neighbors knew each other well. Religion was not a central part of her life. She believed in God in a simple way, but she did not spend time thinking about spiritual matters or life after death. She was practical, grounded, focused on raising her children and helping her husband build a stable life. Her parents, both Italian immigrants, lived nearby. Her father worked at a pharmacy and had years of experience handling medications. Her mother took care of the home and sometimes did sewing to help financially. Rita was healthy and strong, not someone who often became ill. That is why what happened that evening felt so sudden.
It began with a sore throat. By late afternoon, the pain intensified. Chills ran through her body. Then came the sweating and a wave of dizziness that made the room feel slightly unstable. She assumed it was an infection and took some medication she had at home. She sat down on the sofa, hoping the discomfort would pass. Instead, her fever began to rise. Her skin felt hot, but inside, she felt cold. Her hands trembled slightly. The dizziness deepened. Her father noticed the change in her color and expression. Concerned, he went to the pharmacy and brought back an injectable medication to reduce inflammation and fever quickly. Rita trusted him. He had done this many times before. The injection was administered, and they waited for improvement. But within moments, her condition shifted dramatically. Her skin turned pale, almost gray. A cold sweat covered her forehead. Her body began trembling more intensely. Her breathing became difficult, as if the air could not fully enter her lungs. Her mother stood on one side, holding her arm. Her father supported her shoulders, calling her name firmly, trying to keep her alert. Rita tried to inhale deeply, but it felt restricted, tight, incomplete. The room started to blur at the edges. Sounds became distant. The last clear sensation she remembers inside her body was a desperate need for air. Then something happened that she still struggles to explain. Suddenly, she was standing, not slowly rising, not struggling, just standing, fully aware and feeling stronger than she had seconds before. She moved quickly toward the living room window, opened it, and leaned outside, taking in a deep breath of fresh air. This time, her lungs filled easily. There was no pain, no pressure. Relief washed over her. She felt clear, stable. She turned around to reassure her parents that she was fine, and that is when she saw her body still lying on the sofa. Her mother was on one side, crying and calling her name. Her father was trying to stimulate her, gently tapping her face, speaking urgently. Her body looked pale and unresponsive. For a moment, confusion replaced everything else. She looked at her hands. She felt solid, conscious, aware. This was not dreamlike or blurry. Every detail in the room was sharp. She could hear each word clearly. She saw neighbors entering the house after hearing the commotion. She heard one of them suggest calling a doctor. She noticed the small table near the doorway being moved to make space. Time did not feel normal. Movements seemed slower, stretched, yet her thoughts were calm and organized. What surprised her most was the absence of fear. She did not feel panic. She did not feel pain. She felt neutral, almost peaceful, simply observing. She knew she was herself, the same memories, the same identity. The only difference was that she was no longer inside the body on the sofa. She does not know how long this lasted. Seconds and minutes felt indistinguishable. At some point, the entire scene seemed to shift. It was as if reality gently rotated around her. A subtle pulling sensation began, not violent, but firm. The image of the room softened, as if dissolving. Then came a sudden heaviness. She felt weight again, density, pressure in her chest, air rushing sharply into her lungs, sound returning at full volume. Her eyes opened slowly. She was back in her body. Her mother gasped in relief. Her father leaned over her, checking her pulse again, his expression a mix of fear and gratitude. She felt weak, but she was breathing normally. The fever began to subside. Gradually, the neighbors left, and the house grew quiet. Later, when they were alone, Rita asked her parents specific questions. Why had the small table near the door been moved? Who had suggested calling the doctor? What exact words had her mother been repeating while praying? Her parents stared at her in disbelief. She described conversations and actions that had occurred while she was unconscious, unresponsive, barely breathing. There was no way she could have known those details. Yet everything she said was accurate. That confirmation changed something inside her. If it had only been a sensation, she might have dismissed it as a reaction to fever or medication. But she had seen and heard events that her physical body could not have perceived. For days afterward, she moved through life differently, not frightened, not disturbed, just thoughtful. When she looked at her daughters playing, she felt a deeper sense of appreciation. Life no longer seemed as fragile or as limited as she once believed. She did not suddenly become religious. She did not feel the need to convince others. The transformation was quieter than that. Death no longer appeared to her as a dark ending. It felt more like a transition, a change of state. What remained strongest in her memory was not the shock of seeing her body, but the calm she experienced while outside it. She had been fully herself, conscious, aware, without the physical form. Years passed. Her daughters grew up. Life continued with its ordinary challenges and joys. Yet that night never faded from her memory. Even as an elderly woman today, she can describe the details with clarity. The texture of the sofa, the tone of her father's voice, the exact feeling of breathing freely at the window. She says the most surprising part was realizing that her identity did not depend on her body. She was still Rita, the same thoughts, the same memories, just lighter. That experience did not give her scientific proof to offer the world. It did not turn her into a preacher or a mystic. What it gave her was something simpler and perhaps more powerful: peace. A quiet certainty that there is more to our existence than what we see. After that night, she stopped fearing death. She had already crossed a boundary once and returned. And if one day she must cross it again, she believes it will not be into darkness, but into something wider than this small reality we call life. When she speaks about it now, her voice is steady. There is no drama in it, only conviction. She remembers standing at that window, breathing easily, feeling stronger than she had moments before. She remembers turning around and seeing her parents fighting to save her. And she remembers the strange clarity of knowing she was still alive, even outside her body. After that night, she began living with a deeper awareness, not of fear, but of meaning. She holds her loved ones with more gratitude. She values ordinary days more intensely, and she carries within her the quiet understanding that when the body grows silent, something essential may continue. For Rita, that night was not the end of something, it was the beginning of a new way of seeing life. And ever since then, she has lived with the calm belief that when her time finally comes, she will simply open another window and breathe again.
Some stories don't try to prove anything. They simply invite us to reflect. Rita's experience didn't come with dramatic lights or grand declarations. It came with something far more unsettling and far more powerful: awareness. She was outside her body, and yet she was still herself. Same memories, same identity, same clarity of thought. If consciousness is only a product of the brain, how could she describe details she had no physical way of perceiving? If we are only matter, why was the strongest feeling not fear, but calm? Maybe this story isn't about proving what happens after death. Maybe it's about changing how we live before it. Rita didn't come back as a fanatic. She didn't return with absolute answers. She came back with something quieter: peace. And sometimes, peace is the deepest evidence a person can carry. After that night, she valued ordinary days differently. She held her loved ones longer. She stopped seeing death as a terrifying end and began seeing it as a transition. And that leaves us with a question. If you truly believed your consciousness continues, how would that change the way you live today? Perhaps the purpose of these experiences isn't to reveal the other side. Perhaps it's to wake us up to this side, to the present moment, to gratitude, to meaning. If this story made you think, leave a like. It helps this message reach more people who may need it. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next real account that challenges everything we think we know about life, consciousness, and what may exist beyond. Because some questions aren't meant to scare us.
Thank you for watching.